live.
Bad things happen to good people. None of us were ever really born equal. Only one life, there ain't no sequel. Some people live, others stay fearful. This world ain't never been peaceful. You got good, always butting heads against evil. The good try to be fair, but the bad lethal. They gon' fight dirty, every single one deceitful. Stand up, I wanna see your face. Get your chin up like you belong in this place. We gon' train like you've never trained before. You're going up against something that you can't ignore. This ain't a game, this your life that we're playing with. There ain't no reset button or an off switch. You gotta face your fears, you gotta scratch the itch. You gotta break through the walls and get after it. Only time will tell who's gonna make it. I promise you, I'ma be the one who's gonna take it. I fight, I provide, leaving blood on the pavement. If you're up against me, then you better be praying. Cause I'll keep punching till my knuckles start breaking. I'll keep going through the blood that I'm tasting. I won't stop till they've all seen greatness. The battle for my world just started, I've been waiting. Villains and heroes, only time will tell who will win and who will fail. Villains and heroes, no there ain't no one else. Pick a side by yourself. I got this, there ain't no going back. Leave it all on the battlefield, push the attack. You can't stop me, I'm obsessive. A lot of people think that I come off aggressive, but I'm just passionate. Why aren't you? Ain't nobody care if you got nothing to lose. You gotta put yourself on the line, make moves. Otherwise you'll be a sheep with the lions watching you. Only time will tell who's gonna make it. I promise you, I'ma be the one who's gonna take it. I fight, I provide, leaving blood on the pavement. If you're up against me, then you better be praying. Cause I'll keep punching till my knuckles start breaking. I'll keep going through the blood that I'm tasting. I won't stop till they've all seen greatness. The battle for my world just started, I've been waiting. Villains and heroes, only time will tell who will win and who will fail. Villains and heroes, no there ain't no one else. Pick a side by yourself. Today is the day, don't waste any time. No, it's time to make a change. Up in your mind, rearrange. Start thinking you're the hero headed out on your way. There's gonna be good times and bad times. That's alright, just stay on the line. Cause in life we all got a different mission, but the good guy always wins, that's a given. If you stay committed, you stay driven, you'll be looking down the barrel of completing your mission. Ignition, light the flame, get the fire and you listen. Take these words deep, cause this is real, ain't no fiction. You don't need drugs, help any prescription. Just persistence and energy can win any competition. So keep fighting, facing any opposition, and be the hero in a story you yourself have written. Villains and heroes, only time will tell who will win and who will fail. Villains and heroes, no there ain't no one else. Pick a side by yourself.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, ladies.
Hello, Charlie girl.
Hello, ladies.
Hello, Jenna.
Hello, Clary.
Hello, buddy. You smell like lava beans.
Oh boy.
CJ, hello. Can you hear us?
CJ,
She's
right?
muted. She's muted.
Hello, beautiful
Hello.
chat.
Yes, hello, everybody. How's everyone doing tonight? I don't know what this one's doing up here, but she's moving all around, but it's okay.
Yeah, she is.
Sorry. Right as I
Alright,
went
okay,
live,
CJ.
my connection lost.
Of course.
Get yourself together, woman. Get yourself together now.
I
Get it
know.
together.
There's an
Hey,
internet
everybody.
cut right off. Sorry about that, folks.
No, you're not. Don't lie. That was
Um,
just your excuse.
yeah, I'm running away. How's
Hey,
everyone doing?
everybody. I'm sorry, CJ.
He's all right?
Can y'all hear me typing?
No, we can't hear you typing. Finally.
Can you
Oh my
now?
Yeah, but it's okay. I'm sorry.
Rocco wants us to drop the link, CJ.
Oh, Lord.
Oh,
And then she
well,
says, just kidding.
Hey, Carrie.
Hey,
we have
Carrie.
not got enough popcorn for that tonight, Rocco. Lordy.
Hi, Earth,
Yeah.
Roxy, everybody.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, everyone. Welcome in. Nice to see you all.
Yeah.
To see their little devil in Little Texas, Roxy, Georgette, Fancy.
Oh, there's
Beautiful.
Fancy. And Shiny's in here, too.
Yep, shining, hey, beautiful. Georgette, Canadian girl, hey, lovely lady. Georgia.
Shiny
God.
says you're not behaving, Charlie girl.
A Charlie girl never bloody
I
behaves.
haven't even got started. Gosh. At least let me do something to get in trouble for.
She was in trouble before this live even started.
No,
Earth.
she was not.
Don't let her lie to you. Shiny was in trouble, too.
Oh
there's
boy.
always someone in trouble. Wouldn't be us if there wasn't somebody always in trouble.
Yeah.
We just rotate whose turn it is.
Not me.
Shush you. You're all in trouble.
I don't know what you're talking
a
about.
wonderful Friday night.
Yes. I'm
Yeah.
just glad it's Friday.
Well,
Cool.
hopefully everybody's a good weekend ahead of them. But yeah, sorry we had to play the live the other night, but I'm hoping everybody understands that the other night I had to go and take a deep breath.
We all did, girl. We all did.
The other night I had to go and take a deep breath before I decided to go live so that I had a clear mind.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot to unpack and a lot to think about. So it was sort of given some time and space and grace to a bunch of us that we just needed to kind of take a deep breath before saying what we had to say, to put it bluntly. Welcome in, everyone. Hey, Magpie, beautiful. Hey, Chaos.
Hey, Chris. Long time no see.
But yeah, tonight's going to be a bit of a touchy one.
Can you turn your volume up? I'm so sorry.
Me?
Here, I got her.
Thanks, honey. Tonight's going to be a bit of a touchy one, and a bit of a personal one. I don't think there's anybody around here that didn't see the shit show the other night on Tony's, with regards to what happened. And tonight I don't want it to be, and I've said this, I'm not out to throw Susan under a bus or bash Susan. But while we're in this position, we feel as if Susan doesn't have a right to stamp in our voice, and we've got a right to be able to say how we feel about what we've been trying to do and the boundaries we've been trying to put in place, and how that's gone well or not gone well, and where we're all at now in terms of how we're all feeling and where we all stand and how we're all trying to find our ways of dealing with those things. I think first and foremost, Susan knows that I'm doing this live tonight. I've made it clear to Susan that while she's got a right to her voice, we've also got a right to ours. And it's not, like I said, to come at Susan or bash her or throw her under a bus. It's simply to have a conversation about the impacts of addiction on friends, the impact of managing those boundaries. What do we do when we're not handling those boundaries well, and how do we put in place better boundaries? And those have been massive topics, even though it's not been seen so much publicly. Privately behind the scenes for quite a few months now, a lot of us have been really trying in the best ways we can to put different boundaries in place. But the more boundaries we've put in place, the more we've started to see kickback, so to speak. When Susan went live on Tony's the other night, when she jumped up and she mentioned that, where did everybody go? You all just left me. Well, we didn't all just leave her. We had boundaries, and we told her that. We have been making it clear to Susan that if she joins a voice call drunk, or if we start to hear bullshit, we leave.
Yep.
And there's people who are okay with maintaining those boundaries, and there's some that still struggle with those boundaries. And I think everybody's trying to navigate that in different ways. Now, for a lot of us, we've all stood firm for quite a few months now, with Susan, where we call it out every dang time to Susan. We've just never done it publicly. Behind the scenes, we've always, after, there's been any bullshit or she's been drunk or anything like that, we've always had conversations and made it clear we're not sitting in a call listening to that. We're not dealing with her like that. So she started to realise that most of us won't join voice calls when she's drunk or turn up for her lives when she's drunk. A lot of people have started to put in boundaries and try to be healthier within that. And it has been a journey, because Susan is very, very manipulative because of her addiction. Very manipulative, and that comes with addiction. And that's not a pick at Susan, that's a pick at anybody who struggles in addiction. We learn the art of manipulation like crazy. And when you're in addiction, you will manipulate. And we've all spoke and we've all been discussing for months now how unhealthy it is for Susan to be sitting and call for hours and end with people, where we're doing nothing but fill her cup while she drains ours. And it's a cycle that's repeated so many times that in the last few months, as people have started to try and still give Susan a bit of love, but try and encourage her to the right places, because we've all told Susan, we're not your support system. We can't be your support system. We're not the appropriate people for that. You sitting in call with people for 8 hours, 9 hours straight a day, is, if people allow that to happen, we're giving you a place that's just private instead of public to hide your alcoholism. And because you're there in that alcoholism and you're drunk, you're then able to go into that drunk state where you manipulate and you you get into your feelings, and all of this stuff comes out. And we're not the appropriate people for that stuff to come tumbling out too. That's for the real people in your life that deal with mental health and all those kinds of things. And for months now, we've been giving Susan phone numbers and resources of places close to her. And when she's ever in struggles, we say, there you go, phone that number, we're all out of here. And a few weeks ago, we did exactly that. You know, we told her, we're all hanging up, we're not sitting here, you need to put in the work and go call who you need to call. And we all left. And that's the pattern that's been building up behind the scenes for the last few months. But what it's caused is a kickback, a massive kickback. Because, as I'm sure a lot of people will understand with addiction, when they start to lose control of being able to manipulate the narrative around them, they start to lash out.
Hey, DJ, you're crackling a little bit. Just a little bit. I'm sorry, you're doing a brilliant speech, but you're crackling just a little bit. I don't know what it is.
Right, well, I'll carry on for a second, and if it keeps crackling, let me know and I'll switch devices.
Okay.
But for Susan, sitting for hours on end, enabling that and allowing her a space to hide her alcoholism definitely doesn't help. And we've tried to make it clear that we'll step away when she's in those states because she needs to be phoning the appropriate people and she needs to be letting them know her mental state and what her needs are and addressing it with the appropriate professionals. Because sitting with everybody in YouTube for hours, hiding in a cave and being able to, like I said, manipulate people into the 10 million reasons why, or that it's medication instead of alcohol and things like that, isn't helping Susan. And I know Susan is seeing everything as an attack right now. And I've told Susan, unfortunately, these are consequences of your damn actions.
Yep.
That so many people have opinions right now. But you have to be putting in the work. And at the minute, she's nowhere close to that particular point. And we've all said the same thing about the boundary thing. You can love someone, you can care about someone, but you can't care about them. You can't make them sober by caring about them or loving them. You can't love someone sober.
Right.
No matter what,
Absolutely.
we all know no matter what we say or do, nothing, absolutely nothing is going to change Susan until Susan is ready to change Susan. And the more resources we've put in our lap, and we've still seen that she's not really done what she needed to be doing, that to put boundaries in place, because you're not prepared to help yourself. You're not prepared to support yourself in the healthier ways. Now, when Susan lashed out the other night, like I said on Tony's the other night, we knew Susan was drunk. We'd spoken to Susan literally an hour prior to that in Discord and told her we knew that she was drunk. We weren't listening to her ranting and raving. She'd taken a comment, actually multiple comments, but one specific comment made from a different live, very personally, and took it the wrong way. And we told her we were disgusted, and she took it the wrong way, and nothing was getting through.
Okay. They're saying the static is rough. I can understand you. It's not that bad for me, but it might be bad for them.
Right, well, give me 2 seconds and I'll bounce up on my other device.
Okay. Thank y'all for letting us know, because it's not really that bad up here.
Yeah.
Hope everybody's doing okay.
Speak for yourself, woman.
Look, I ain't talking to you, okay?
Pretty bad on my end.
Okay.
Just saying.
So I know everybody has feelings in chat, y'all just
Oh, Lord.
Got it.
okay. Y'all just everybody has the
Thank
right to
you.
their opinion of how they feel. And remember, we're not doctors up here at all.
No. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's not about being a doctor or knowing or being a therapist, because none of us are qualified for that. Not at all.
Right, Earth. And that's exactly what we've been doing. And people don't realize that. They think we're in her Discord just chatting it up and having a great time.
No,
And,
we're not.
but we're
And that's
not.
the thing. It's frustrating because I know it's easy to kind of look at it because we don't say anything publicly. We haven't for a long time. So when Susan does fuck up, or she's drunk, or she's up there and she's spouting off BS, it's not that we don't know she's doing it. It's just we've been handling it privately, where we've been kicking her up the ass privately and trying to kind of tell her we don't support that and she needs to be getting help from appropriate places. And until such times as she is actively supporting and helping herself, we're all managing her boundaries. And for each person there, their boundaries look different. And that's what it is. You know, we can't make everybody kind of have the same boundaries, but for most of us, we've been able to put healthy boundaries in place to say we ain't sitting for hours listening to that, or we're not coming into your live while you're absolutely wasted. Alcoholism's a bitch, so is any addiction's a bitch. But when you live with addiction, until you can get to a point of true surrender, and I mean true surrender, you ain't going to be able to take the right steps to even help yourself. And true surrender is the most. I wish this was something I could explain in words for those who don't understand. But true surrender is the most terrifying but equally empowering thing you can ever feel. That moment of letting your addiction go and making that choice, that moment of choosing to say, I'll no longer put that on the people that I love and care about, that I'll no longer do that to myself. I won't lie, manipulate, cheat, any of these things for or because of my addiction. The minute you surrender that, it is terrifying because you're giving up the one thing that has held you together like a crutch. But the minute you give it up and give that surrender up, and you're able to take the right steps and work those programs, it is the most empowering thing ever. And even if in the future you slip, because you've now got that feeling of knowing what it's like to surrender and to give it up and be healthy, you've always got something if you slip in the future to pull yourself back to sobriety, because you know what it's like. You've got something to hook onto and pull you back that's good. That's why the first steps to me are so important. Now, you can claim to be in the first steps, and we all know Susan, we believe she wants to be sober, but not in the way she needs to be sober. Susan wants to be sober for everybody else and everything else but Susan. Because it's
Right.
always excuses and reasons as I'll do it for this, I'll do it for that. But it's not, I'm doing it for me.
Right.
I need this for me.
Mm-hmm.
And accountability, ownership, everything that comes with those first steps of surrender, she's still stuck in that cycle of perpetuating lies and more bullshit to cover more bullshit to cover more bullshit, instead of just being in that moment of pure and utter surrender
So,
and then accepting what helps in front of you.
and
Now,
the only person that can help her is herself. No one can.
100%,
The only
100%.
thing y'all can do is create those boundaries, because, like, I've seen people mentally exhausted, and it's sad that you got to put those boundaries up, because you have feelings for that person. You want to see them sober, but they don't want to see themselves sober, or they don't want to go through that step. And you have to set boundaries to protect you, because you're going to be drained, especially if they don't want to get sober. You
Yeah,
can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved.
exactly. And that's the part that I think most of us have all sort of at that point of, we've all been trying to more support each other to make sure that we have those healthy boundaries, or people are learning how to build those boundaries, so that, because Susan needs to see that people are maintaining those boundaries and she can't manipulate her way around those boundaries. So it's people building strength around that, because, like I said, I know Susan's seen absolutely everything, and including everything we're saying here is a complete attack right now. And I've told her, I promise her, this, I am not intending this as any kind of way of attacking Susan. But I will no longer give Susan a place to hide her addiction. Because when she's got Discord to be able to sit in calls and pull different people into that, she's still having a place to hide that addiction. And that's why most of us over the last few months, like I said, have put up those boundaries and said, no, we will not be on calls. If we hear you drunk, we're dipping out. So when Susan get butthurt the other night about us all dipping out the call, that's why. We all knew she was drunk. She was denying it point blank, and she was on an absolute drunken rampage about something that wasn't even the reality of what it was. So we all checked out. And Susan, I know she'll probably be listening, but Susan has to understand and realise that for us to care about her, we have to care about ourselves enough to be healthy for us first. Because we cannot spend any time filling her cup while she drains ours. And we can't sit there and give endless hours of care and support to a friend who doesn't even care about themselves enough to want the same damn thing. So until Susan's at a stage of getting true help and being honest about what help she's getting, then we're all maintaining healthy boundaries. And like I said, those boundaries will look different for different people, but for most of us, she knows where we stand with our boundaries. Now, I've told Susan that, you know, if she manages to maintain her sobriety or prove that, and I'm not talking about days or even weeks, I'm talking months, then she'll get, you know, a bit of respect from me, that you're actually proving through actions But I've told Susan that I don't believe the words. I don't believe the words because the words are never backed by actions. The words are just words to keep you there and stagnant until the next blow up. The words are just words to pacify because there's never any action behind the words. So when we start seeing action behind the words, then she'll start to get, you know, a bit more respect from that. But at the minute, it's all just words on rinse and repeat that we've all heard a million times. And like I said, I'm not going to make a dig at anybody, but because, like I said, this isn't about any other side arguments or anything else. But I know there's people from all different sides of the camp, so to speak, that have tried to help Susan in the past. And not one of us is right or wrong. It's just we've all had the same end goal in place, and that's we all wanted what we all want more for Susan. But unfortunately, what we want for Susan, Susan doesn't want for Susan. And she'll tell you the right words and the right things that she does want help and she really does want all these things. But actions speak louder than words. And for most of us at this point, we've told Susan there needs to be actions because until then, we won't give you a place to hide anything privately anymore. We don't call you out publicly. We never have. We've always kept it contained to Discord calling her out. But we've made it clear we won't allow that anymore. We've told her that if we see her drinking in VC or she's live drinking, we are going to publicly call her out and make it known and clear that she's lying. Because we're not going to give her a place to hide or manipulate either side anymore. Now, I don't know if that makes us right or wrong, good or bad. I honestly don't know at this point. I just know that healthy boundaries is the one thing we all do agree on is massively needed.
Absolutely.
And those boundaries need to be healthy for each individual and how that looks for them. And these boundaries, unfortunately, for Susan, they're not about Susan. They're not for Susan. These boundaries are for each individual person there who's been impacted by someone in addiction. And this is where I feel so many different ways about this topic because I was once stuck in the same place in complete active addiction. And I've managed that for so many damn years now, where I've fought it and I've won that battle for a long damn time now. But I see the both sides of it. I see the sober side and I see the addict side. And I'll never say no addict's not worth fighting for, because everybody's worth fighting for. But you can only fight for someone who's prepared to fight for themselves. And sometimes it does take some tough love, and sometimes it does take some really strong boundaries for someone to start recognizing those things and to start making the decisions between, okay, I'm losing things through this. Do I want to make changes or do I not? When you're going to pick YouTube before family, when you're going to pick addiction before everything else, when you're going to pick addiction over how you treat your friends, then the issue's something that you need to be dealing with, but only you can deal with it. And Susan has to want to make those changes for herself. Now, for Susan, we all do care for Susan and we all have a soft spot for Susan. But we all know and we all recognise that we need to be and the best place for us to be able to do that. And that means sometimes putting up boundaries and saying, sorry, Susan, we need actions, not words. And until we see that, we're maintaining our boundaries and we will not move them. Now, Susan will tell you everything you want to hear to keep you there and, you know, maintain that support. But we need to be seeing actions at this point. And even if Susan falls out with all of us tonight and never wants to speak to us ever again because she sees this as some sort of way, then we're still there for Susan if she does the right thing by Susan. But what we cannot do under any circumstances is support Susan to stay stagnant and stuck. Because if she's not prepared to put the work in, all she's going to continue to do is drain and manipulate everybody around her. So even though people haven't seen it for like front and centre publicly, believe me, there's a whole ton of us for a long time now have been really kicking Susan's ass and trying to kind of put up boundaries for ourselves and each other so that, like I said, it's not about Susan, it's about keeping us healthy. And if people can't maintain keeping themselves healthy, they check out. And so they should, because nobody's mental health, sobriety, or physical health should be impacted because of Susan's mental health and addiction. And that's why boundaries are needed if anybody chooses to support Susan. And like I said, I know Susan sees this as an attack and a betrayal and all the rest of it. She's got a whole bunch of us here who she knows care about her. But we have to be healthy around it and give her no place to be able to manipulate and lie for her to be able to move forward. And if she chooses to move forward with drink and more lies, that's on her. She'll find herself completely on her own, and she knows that. Well, maybe not all on her own, there might be a few, but like I said, at the end of the day, that's got to be Susan's choice. All we can do is try to tell her our boundaries, and if she doesn't do the work, she knows where we stand. And if she surprises any of us, which I'm sceptical about, but if she surprises any of us, then you'll learn a little bit of respect. The fact that you are maybe putting in a bit of work. Now, at the minute, I don't know what to believe, in all fairness. I'm not going to, like I said, continue to try and kind of support that. At this point, we've all had so many discussions about boundaries that people either make the choice now to what their boundaries look like with Susan. And if there's people who don't want to have boundaries or whatever, that's fine. If there's people who put boundaries in place and choose to stay, that's fine. And if there's people who walk away, that's fine. And Susan's going to need to understand that and respect that. Because these are all consequences of her addiction and her mental health and her choosing not to support herself in any kind of healthy way. Now, when Susan said the other night about going to the hospital, Susan did go to the hospital the first night. Most of us were on call. She had stated that she didn't feel she could keep herself safe, and she called emergency services. We were all on call when the paramedics arrived, and we even spoke to the paramedics who stated that Susan didn't want to really go with them, and that led to us saying, well, we check out if you're not going to get help because that's just such a waste of time. And at that point, she changed her mind and said, okay, I'll go. Susan had gave me a blessing to call the hospital the next morning to check on her, because she didn't have her mobile with her. So the following morning, I called and they confirmed that Susan was in hospital. They had her on a nebulizer for her breathing, and they were currently waiting on the mental health team coming down to speak with her. So we know Susan did go that first night. The second night after that was the following week, and the paramedics were called again. And when the paramedics were called again, they were taking ages and didn't come out, and nobody heard anybody on a call this time. Nobody heard anybody's voices. No, there was just no sign of a call, anybody on the other line, nothing. And at this point, I think most of us ended up bouncing off the call. And when we left the call, we tagged Susan in back chat and we said, look, we're not sitting here not knowing what to believe. And we're all out. And we all left the call and we said, let us know when you know what's happening. Within 60 seconds of us all leaving the call, she had tagged everybody and said, I'm back. The paramedics are finished with me on the phone. So she came back and told us all that mental health and the ambulance service were sending an ambulance out, mental health out, and she was waiting for about 2-3 hours when I suggested that she call let emergency services back to see why they weren't there. Because at this point I was dubious that she'd even made the call to begin with, because it was different to the previous week where we'd actually heard people. This time we heard nothing. And she said she was going to call them back. Again, we never heard anybody else in the end of the line. But like I said, Susan made it clear that she needed the ambulance to come out. She made some very silly choice words and threats that she was sitting with a knife. And that was it. And again, the paramedics didn't arrive for hours. Most of us had all checked out the chat and told her we were done. And at that point, the next morning came and I phoned the hospital again, thinking, well, she must be there. And the hospital said she'd never been admitted. So later that afternoon, I typed into her back chat because people were messaging. So in her voice VC bit, I had message saying, well, she's not been admitted to hospital. I've checked. Like she asked me to do the last time. I checked and was going to check in with her and see what was happening or what ward she'd been moved to or anything like that. And I let it be known that she wasn't there. And a few hours later, she came into VC and said that the ambulance did come out after we all hung up the call. And at that point, she didn't want to be taken to the hospital. She had an anxiety attack and they chased her round her sofa to give her an injection to sedate her. Then she told everybody it was a 24-hour sedation, and I called her out on it and I told her that just wouldn't happen. They don't sedate you for 24 hours in the comfort of your own home. Just doesn't happen. With COPD or any kind of breathing difficulties and medication that also labour breathing, they would have your breathing monitored on heavy sedation like that. So, like I said, there was just too many things. And then she admitted eventually that it was just a light sedation for a couple of hours and that's it. But as I said, it still didn't make sense and still doesn't, because if you're saying that you have a knife or anything like that, you're sure as shit the police are going to be turning up at your door. Because if at that point paramedics wouldn't turn up at the door unescorted by police, because there's now mention of a knife. So that wouldn't happen. So we all knew this and we all spoke about it, and she was adamant, no, they did, and they came out and they sedated me and they didn't care. They just left me at home and a few hours sedation and that was it. And then it was the following week after that, for the third week in a row, she ended up at the hospital again, but this time it had nothing to do with mental health. It was just simply her breathing. She'd went to get her breathing checked, and then she was out within like 2-3 hours. She didn't get kept in or anything. She was out really quickly. So that was the events of those things. So when those things were brought up in Tony's the other night, and Susan was trying to say she's been going for mental health help and she's been in hospital twice for her mental health. No, she hasn't. She's been once and was discharged after sort of less than 12 hours after being admitted. The second time she said they sedated her at home and she didn't go. And the third time she went in for less than 7-8 hours and it was for her breathing. It had nothing to do with her mental health or addiction or any of that. She's told everybody that she has a mental health support plan in place now because of her going to the hospital that night, and they've set her up appointments, and for 3 weeks somebody came out to her house every Friday, and now they're not coming out to her house anymore because that was the crisis team. They're seeing her in the actual mental health place. Again, whether that's true or not, who knows? Pinch of salt, all that. But like I said to Susan, for most of us at this point, we have enough boundaries in place at this point for Susan to know that if you can prove through consistency in your actions that shit's going to change, you'll get a bit of respect and people will be there. But until such times as you've proven that you're doing these things that you're saying you're doing, and you're going to be sober, and you're not going to fucking lie, then we're all putting our boundaries in place and they will absolutely stay there until such times as you're putting the damn work in. Susan is absolutely Susan's own worst enemy. And addiction leads you to a point where you get left sometimes with nobody. And sometimes that's the rock bottom that you need. I don't believe in the whole you can kiss and cuddle somebody into sobriety. I don't believe that. If everybody had have treated me that way when I was going through what I went through, I would never be sat here sober now. I would never be clean. Because if everybody around me was so frightened to tell me to own my shit or sort my shit out, and if people were always giving me a space to be able to manipulate my way around that, then I'd never be where I am now. I just wouldn't be. I had some really tough ass people around me when I went into rehab. I'm 48 years old now. Well, saying that, I'm 48 in a few days. I'm a bit early. But I'm 48 years old, right? And like I said, I went into rehab at 19. And I'd been in addiction from the age of 15 years old to 19 years old on a massive, massive daily amount of high drugs. Massive. And I absolutely destroyed myself. Absolutely. Addiction nearly killed me multiple times over. The amount that I was spending it every day, the way that I was just treating myself and treating other people. To this day, I still hang my head in shame about that part of my life. But I also hold my head high as equally, because I know how much I've damn well fought. And when I seen Susan the other night make those comments towards Six Up, I was absolutely disgusted. And I've went through Susan for this, and I've told Susan, how flippin' dare you? You come at people for going clink, clink and have another drink, Susan, and you have just weaponised somebody else's sobriety to the highest damn degree. She's got absolutely no excuses for what she did and what she said. And we're all really disgusted in it. And it's sad because sober Susan and the Susan who doesn't lie is actually an okay person. She's actually a good person. She's a person you wouldn't want to avoid or whatever. You would actually want to spend a bit of time with and say hi to. But the addiction and the lies turn her into somebody else, and alcohol turns her into a combative person who takes everything the way she wants to take it. She will see, hear, and read what she wants to and blank out everything else. And she just becomes focused in anger. And she's acknowledged that herself at times. When she gets triggered, she gets defensive. When she gets defensive, she gets reactive. And we've all told her, well, what's the secret to that, Susan? Don't believe. But she does it every damn time. At the end of the day, we all care about Susan. But Susan has to care about herself enough to want to do what's right for her. I'll let one of you take over for a second to get a drink.
I'm just sorry for everybody that is really close to her that has been filling her cup, and y'all are empty now. I've seen a lot of people, and it's hard when you're an addiction, and you want to help so bad. I've been in addiction, active in addiction. I've loved many people that are addicts, and it's hard to put up those boundaries. Um, you want to try to save them, and you can't save them, and then you end up losing yourself because you're trying to save them, and they don't want to be saved. So
Yep.
boundaries are a good place to have. They're hard to have, but you have to put them there in order to keep you healthy and keep you safe. And
Yep.
it's sad. It's really sad because regardless of how bad we want someone to be sober, it's not up to any of us to get that person clean. If
No.
that person does not want to be clean, they're not going to be clean.
No.
You can talk with them, plead with them until they're blue in the face.
Yep.
Until you're blue in the face. All it's doing is depleting your life, and you're just going to be stuck there, drained. And it hurts. It really does hurt because especially with someone you love. you know. And then if yourself is going through addiction, I can only speak for myself through my addictions. You know, you have to want to do it for yourself. That's the only way you can get out of it, is if you see your self-worth. I did it all alone. I mean, everybody has different stories of their addictions. And I, addiction is an everyday battle. It really is.
Definitely.
You know, some days are harder. Um, it's really rough.
And it doesn't matter how many years you've been clean or sober, even though I've been clean a hell of a long time now, but I still manage my boundaries. Like if I'm being invited to an event or going somewhere where I think there's a potential of there being anything like that around, I just don't go. I won't go. You know, I keep my circle small and my social events small because I don't put myself in a position of being around anything like that. And even though I feel strong within my sobriety, I still would never take the chance of allowing that around me. And it's why, even though I know Susan thinks it's harsh how some comments were made, but I agree with some of the comments that were made. Because at the end of the day, you cannot get sober through hugs and kisses and things like that. It does take some tough love at times. And when you're in addiction yourself and you're in that struggle yourself, or you've no matter what stage of that you're at, your only responsibility is about managing your sobriety and your boundaries. That's your priority, not somebody else's addiction. So she can't get upset at people saying, I don't want you in chat, I don't want you coming in, because you're unhealthy for my boundaries or my sobriety. Because you're clearly still in addiction. So having you around is sort of counterproductive to the process that I'm going through. Now, Susan's not been able to unfortunately understand that up to, well, I don't know if she does or not now, but it doesn't seem as if she understands that. Or she would be respecting other people's journey through addiction and sobriety. But she's still stuck in the self, because she's still in that selfish mentality of the addiction. And until she is getting the right help, then none of us can do anything but manage our boundaries. You know, if Susan's sober, I'll say hi to sober Susan. But I will never stick around for drunk Susan or the Susan who is gaslighting, emotionally manipulating, or lying. That's when I check out. Because that's all part of the cycle of that addiction. So I know to a lot of people it seems as if, because we don't speak publicly, that, like I said, we co-sign or we agree with Susan or we let her away with stuff. We honestly don't. Most of us absolutely kick Susan's ass to the point where I think she actually at this present time hates us all, because we've all put so many boundaries in place. And when you take control away from an addict and their power to manipulate, they go into a spiral. And what we're seeing right now is the spiral. And what we're all witnessing right now is the spiral of Susan losing control because so many people have put up boundaries and try to maintain those. And she's seen people that she knows care about her and she claims to care about, all saying, see you later, Susan. Let us know when you're sober. See you on the sober side, Susan. Or catch you when you're not bullshitting, and we all check out.
And I hope she realizes that those are not empty threats. Those are your boundaries. And, it's not to scare her into sobriety or, you know, anything like
Yep,
that. It's simply your boundaries.
100%. If Susan goes and gets help for anybody else but herself, if Susan goes and gets help because she's frightened of losing people or anything like that, she's not going to maintain sobriety. It won't work because she's doing it for all the wrong reasons. Let's say when you get to the point of surrender within sobriety and addiction, you're truly surrendering. And Susan, I just don't think she's at the point of surrender yet.
Nope, not at
And
all.
like I said, if she ever gets to that point of surrender and starts to work that program or get any kind of proper help, then time and consistency will prove it, because words at this point mean nothing. The words
Well,
are regurgitated, repeated, rinse and repeat, cycled words that we've all heard on loop 10 million times over. No matter what friendship group we're in, even though we all don't get on and there's different sides, I guarantee you, if anybody from, I'll just say purple side or anything like that, said, here's all the 10 excuses Susan would consistently give, they would completely match up. You know what I mean? We've all been, every group Susan gets into, it's the same rinse and repeat. If she feels she's losing power, I'm going to tell you what you want to hear and what you need to hear so I can keep you here longer. You know what I mean? I'm working the programs, I'm getting the help, I'm doing the things, but she's not actually doing the things because nothing changes. And like I said, we want to believe that she's doing the things that she's claiming to and she's getting psychological help. But our meeting on Friday, like I said, was with a counsellor, just a normal counsellor. And like I said, Susan has claimed that while she was at the counsellor, they gave her the alcohol injection to stop her drinking. So time will tell. If you've had an alcohol injection that stops you drinking, you will never be seen live or in Discord drunk ever again, because it's impossible. Anybody who understands the injection understands how it works, and you would never be seen drunk. So I've made it clear to Susan that if she's telling people that she's had this injection in the 2 days between the shit show and Tony's and yesterday, she's had this injection, then I don't know if she's telling the truth or lying. I don't. But time will tell, because if you are on that injection, you will not be able to be drunk anywhere.
Yep.
So I've told Susan if she's sober, both for 3 months straight in VC and on YouTube, then I might actually believe that she's had that type of help. I might actually believe that she's got a bit of help if she shows a bit of consistency, but we all know that that won't happen.
And YouTube is not a place to seek help.
No, it's
It's
certainly
not.
not.
Nobody on YouTube, not unless they're professional doctors, but I don't think nobody in this sector is professional doctors. I may be wrong. I don't know. But none of us are around anybody. That's like, just say for Susan, none of us are around Susan. So none of us can actually help her, like be there. It has to be totally up to her.
Yeah.
And even in your real life, you can try to push someone to go. They'll go, but that mean they're gonna follow through, you know? and it's
Yeah.
sad. I mean, we all suffer through addiction. I know I suffer through addiction.
Yeah. Exactly. Chaos. It's local, one-on-one, consistent help she needs, attacking it from two fronts, both with her mental health and with addiction. And those need to be tackled side by side. You know, one can't be tackled without the other. You know, if you try to tackle one without the other, you're just going to fall flat in your face.
Absolutely.
So both programs need to be getting worked, whether it's a recovery program as well as a mental health program. So, like I said, it's a hard one because we all know how Susan feels and that she's very much feeling a certain way right now. But as I told her yesterday, I feel that's very selfish because you're in that addictive mentality right now of look at how this has all hurt me, look what I can and cannot cope with, look at the effects this is having on me, and not once has she considered the impact that her addiction and behaviours have on anybody close to her. Not once. And that's why we've all got to that point of putting in the boundaries. And after what happened the other night, making it clear publicly that we do have boundaries and Susan knows it. And we've made that clear to Susan. And I've told Susan that I hope she doesn't see tonight as me throwing her under the bus. Tonight is more about our boundaries and hoping that she respects that and trying to find a way to navigate caring about Susan when she's sober. But we can't go round the rinse and repeat cycle of sober Susan for a day and the rest we've got chaos, you know? And not that type of chaos, Queen. You know what I mean? The Susan type of chaos. I can already hear chaos saying, what, me? I didn't do it.
She would too.
So save the type of chaos, I was already ahead of you. At the end of the day, we all care about Susan, but none of us can care her into sobriety. None of
Right.
us can make her get the help. We've all armed her with a million resources. We've all pointed her in a million directions locally and with professionals in her area and different things like that. And it's up to her whether she puts the work in or she doesn't. And like we've told her, there's no point in lying about work that you're putting in because it shows through behaviours and actions whether you're putting work in or not. You know, and if your behaviours and actions are still showing what we're getting now, then you're obviously not putting the work in. So, like I said, I know Susan's in the bushes somewhere. And Susan, we all do care about you. And I know it probably doesn't feel like it right now, but we are all in different ways trying to be healthy for ourselves because we cannot allow you to drain our cup while you're filling your own. It's selfish, Susan. And that's why if you don't want to be in a position where you end up with nobody, you have to realise that you need to be turning to the correct and appropriate people so that you can maintain healthy friendships and boundaries. And that also goes with friends and family. You're never going to get to a point of maintaining healthy relationships or anything like that, Susan, until you start working on both programs. And if you're going to permanently stay stuck in the loop of victim mentality of, oh, but look how hurt I am and look at all these things being done to me, you're still living in denial without accountability. And we've all told you this. If you want a different life, Susan, you're the only one that can make it happen. But you can make it happen because there's plenty of people out there who have survived through addiction and got good lives and managed that. But you're just making the choice to not even try. And until you're at that point, you're just going to need to accept that we've got boundaries. And if you can't accept that and you don't like the boundaries that we're putting in place or putting around it, then it's your choice whether you want us to be there or not. We'll simply dip out. If you don't want us there, that's fine. Because we know how to be dealing with that, Susan. If you don't want us there, we will be quite happy doing our own thing.
Yep.
With a lot more energy because our cup's more full. Because it's not being drained. But if you want to still have friends around you, Susan, you have to respect our boundaries until you're able to get to a point where you're truly able to accept help for the right reasons and take those steps for yourself. Like I said, surrendering to, like when you're in addiction and surrendering that power over to say, yes, I am an addict, or yes, I am an alcoholic. It is, I'll never be able to explain in the words the feeling of defeat, surrender, guilt, pain, everything that there's so much bottled into that one feeling the minute you realize you do not need to hide your addiction, lie or manipulate around it, or hurt the people that you love because of it. And unfortunately, when you're still stuck in that loop of not caring who you are and what you're losing, whether it's family or friends, that's a sad place to be. Very, very sad place to be. And I know that place. But when you've got nowhere else to go and that's all you've got left, it's time to make some choices and fight, and you're just not there. You're just not. So until you are, none of us can waste that energy and time to spend time being around that. Like I said, if it's sober Susan and Susan who's helping herself will be there. But drunk Susan and lying and manipulative Susan, no.
Nope.
And like I said, I can't speak for everybody because like I said all through this, everybody's boundaries are and will look different. But each person has to be healthy within their boundaries, because the minute you're being emotionally, mentally impacted by somebody else's addiction like that, it's an unhealthy place to be. When you're being pulled in out of fear that somebody's going to not cope well or do something or anything like that, then you're the one being drained by the manipulation that comes along with that package of mental health and addiction. We all, like I said, we all care about Susan, but we don't want to move forward with her having a place to hide in Discord anymore with gaslighting everybody that we're all just not believing her. because she's the one that's caused this. And like I said, it's not to hurt Susan or throw Susan under a bus. It's simply Susan needs to understand our boundaries and why we've set them in place. And we need to move forward from that with Susan understanding that. And if we ever do go in to see Susan, it'll be when Susan's doing good. And some people might still go in when Susan's doing shit. I don't know. Like I said, everybody's going to have their own boundaries. But for me personally, I've told Susan, I'll say hi to you when you're sober. When you're sober, I will say hi. But non-sober Susan or bullshitting Susan, I will not engage with. And that's down to Susan, like I said, and she knows everybody's made it clear what their different boundaries are, you know, over the last few days, and a lot of people have made it clear where they stand. The rest is up to Susan at this point. You know, and I know a lot of different friendship groups, past, present, and probably future, will all be in the same rinse and repeat cycle of telling Susan the same things. Because when boundaries get put in place too much for Susan, she's stuck in a hard place now, because she either does the work for herself, not for us or anybody in YouTube. She needs to do it for herself, because otherwise she now enters another loop of rinse and repeat. She's just
I
going to
would
be
just,
continuously stuck.
and like you said, we know she's listening. I would just like to ask her to stop and think about all these people that have been there for you, that have literally gone above and beyond to ensure your safety. Um, I, I would like to ask you to stop and think the next time you decide to say that you're going to harm yourself. Because that's not fair. These people have your best interest at heart, and then for you to do something like that's not cool. And they deserve better.
Yeah, there was, and I know it's not the first time, and
Yeah, that was
I
my
know
comment
it's,
to her yesterday,
In
in
your
chat.
um in her effort to get sympathy and uh basically get her way, she's crushing the people that care about her the most. And
Yeah,
that's not fair.
no. And I told her
yeah,
that yesterday. I told her, I said, you're sitting here, talking about what's going on with you. I said, but look at everybody in this chat right now. They're hurting. You know, their cup is completely empty. They have nothing else to give.
and that's where it boils down to boundaries, and those need to be healthy boundaries, because she is doing she addiction has a massive impact on other people, and you're too selfish in your addiction at times to realize that. And unfortunately, Susan can't see at the minute the hurt she's caused a whole lot of people. Does it hurt my feelings how Susan acted the other night? No, it really doesn't, because that was addict Susan speaking, and the words of an addict coming out their mouth while they're in addiction, I know what that's like, and I just,
Well, it may not hurt your feelings, but it's not okay.
it's not okay, but it doesn't hurt my feelings. She's not going to get under my skin with it, is my point. I see it as the words of and her in addiction coming out of her mouth. I'll hold her accountable for it, but she ain't gonna hurt my feelings. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
At the end of the day, she needs to be accountable, and not once has she ever been truly accountable in the last few days. It's all about how it's been bothering her, and the impact of this has all had on her, and how many people are coming after her. And we've told her, well, reap what you sow. You're the one that did it. You're the one that's did this, and this is the consequences of your choices of actions and behaviours while in that moment. You know, and what she put the people that were on that call that night through was terrifying for a few of them. I know that there was quite a few people really, really triggered that night. You know, absolutely terrified for her. And that's not good. That's why so many conversations in the last sort of 3 months have took place to be saying, no, this isn't okay. And we're not going to allow it to be okay, because we're going to make it clear, here's our boundaries and where we stand. So every single time since then, we have all literally said, we're out. Yeah, she said 2 days after Tony's live, she said that she went to mental health on Friday, yesterday morning, basically, and begged and begged and begged and begged and begged them. And they gave her the shot without doing any blood work, without checking her blood pressure, and without checking the fact that she was still on certain opioid medications, which would completely defeat the purpose of the injection in the first place. So I don't know. But like I say to her, I don't live with you. I can't prove it or disprove it. All I can say is, if that's the case and you've had that injection, nobody will ever see you live drunk or in voice call drunk for months. So if you're still sober in 3 months' time, I'll believe you've had that injection. Maybe. But like I said, as we all know how that works, if you've had that injection, you're not going to be able to be drunk. It's just not going to happen. It's not possible. You're either going to be hugging a toilet, or it counteracts the effects of the alcohol, so you're just not going to get drunk. So at the end of the day, she needs to be honest, and we've told her that. And if she's telling the truth about this, then we'll never see her drunk ever. Because that's not how. Then that just wouldn't happen on that injection.
Nope.
But if she is drunk at any point, we know she hasn't had the injection, because that's not how the injection works. You can't be drunk on the injection.
It's literally not possible.
No, it's not. Not possible at all. So at the end of the day, I know Susan doesn't want us talking, and I know, because it's the defensive, oh shit, I'm a rabbit in the headlights. I don't want all this being said. That means they're all coming after me. Susan, like I said, honey, this isn't being done to come after you. It's being done to give you no more places to hide. And if you think that's coming from a place of us being assholes and a bunch of bitches, or because we've got ill intention, that's up to you. You can think that if that's what you feel. But that's not how it is. We're not giving you a place to hide, and we've all been putting in boundaries because we care. Because if we didn't care, we would end up with our cup so fucking empty, Susan, that we would all say, screw you, we're out of here. We're never speaking to you ever again. And that's how most of us have got now, Susan. Most of us have told you, until you're ready to help yourself now, we're all checked out. Well, a few of us are. Like I say, I can't speak for everyone. But, like I said, we're checked out until you prove shit. It's not but words anymore. We've heard the regurgitated same BS over and over and over again. So until you can prove through actions, behaviour and consistency, we'll catch you on the sober side. Because we won't give you that place to manipulate or gaslight, and we will not give you that place to hide your alcoholism. Now, like I said, I know that you're feeling attacked and you don't want people knowing what you're doing and all the rest of it. But that's just another form of manipulation, Susan, trying to get us all to not let on anybody what's going on. Not let it on anybody what you're telling us. That's still you within your addiction, trying to gaslight and manipulate. So you can hate us for it all you like, but this is about giving you no place to hide anymore, so that you do the healthy things and either stay off YouTube or sort your shit out. Because if you come back to YouTube now, Susan, and you go live and you're drunk, you've told everybody you've had the injection. And you might have got away with that if we'd have kept that one contained to Discord. But if anybody sees you drunk now, Susan, you've got no place to hide with that lie anymore. None. You told everybody you're taking 4 weeks off and you're not coming back to YouTube for 4 weeks. And we told you, if you think things are going to calm down after 4 weeks, you're sadly mistaken. People in these YouTube streets, Susan, have memories like dang elephants. So, like I said, the only way forward is you doing what you need to do. And for the right freaking reasons. But until you do, we've all got our boundaries, and like I said, we'll all see you on the sober side. That's all we can do, because like I said, we all care about you, but what we've dealt with the last 3 weeks in particular, and then what we dealt with the other night, is the absolute icing on the damn cake for us to say, you know what, as many boundaries as we've already put in place, there needs to be an even stronger one now that says, you know what, we're checking out until you sort your shit. And you might never be able to do that, Susan. And you know what, if you can't and you don't, and you want to be living that life, that's fine. You do you. Because there's no point in us wasting energy trying to get you to be helping yourself when you just don't want to. And I hate saying this to you, Susan, because I've felt how it feels to people you love sitting in front of you saying, I'm cutting you off, or I don't want you around until you get clean. I know how that stings. I know that fucking rejection and heartbreak and how you go into that. Well, they're all leaving me and it's all about how you feel, what they're doing to you. Because you're still in that mentality. And it's only when you're on the other side of it, sober, Susan, that you'll suddenly realise, look what the feek I did to them people. Look what I did to my family. Look what I did to my children. Look what I did to my friends. That's when you're going to realise. And unless you've got a whole ass ton of therapy in bloody place when those moments kick in, so you can maintain your sobriety, there will be issues because it's a two-front process. It's a dual process. You can't tackle one without the other, and both are a lifelong battle. It's not a 6-week fix at a counsellor and then it's suddenly all cured. It's a lifelong battle that you've got to choose through every crisis, every depressing moment, every anxiety attack, every time we go through something shit in life. It's a choice that we have to battle. And you're not even close. Not even close. Sorry, what did I say? My eyes are so small with this phone.
Hold on, I'll scroll up and read it. She said, the only thing is she would have to stop drinking to get the shot. It's called Vivitrol. She would have to stop drinking and she can't. She is so far off. It would hurt her, and I'm using a different term when I say that. There's no way she could stop drinking long enough to get that shot. And then she posted the link.
Thank you. And Earth, we did pull up the same the same website for that exact medication, and we brought that up to her. And I pointed that out, that that medication is not prescribed until you are actually, you have all alcohol out of your system. Your blood system can't show any percentage of alcohol in it at all. And if you're in any kind of opioid medication, you would have to have that medication substituted for a non-opioid based medication, because that injection counteracts the impact of any opioid medication also. And the doctor didn't check that she was on an opioid medication before they gave her it and didn't care. No blood work was done to see if there was any alcohol in her system. They just took her word for it. So, like we said, we've got no proof, but that's what Susan's told us, and I know she didn't want us telling anybody else. But I refuse at this point, whether she hates me for it or not, to give her a place to hide. You know,
100%.
because at the end of the day, if I can't choose everybody, I can be responsible for my boundaries, but I can't be responsible for anybody else's boundaries. And if Susan was able to keep that one in Discord, it would be too easy for her to manipulate that one to convince some people into believing that she really has that injection or different things like that, you know? And it's too easy to make up excuses. So at the end of the day, the injection's a 30-day injection. If she's live at any point drunk or anywhere drunk, then it, like I says, we all know what we think, but like I said, the proof will be when we see Susan doing Susan. You know, and it's a really hard one. And like I said, Susan, we do care about you, honey. We do. And I know you think the exact opposite right now. I know you do. And if you want to freaking toss us all to the pile of friends that you've tossed aside before a million times over, that's fine too. But we are not making a choice to abandon you or leave you, Susan. We're making a choice to be healthy for us first and foremost, which will look at times like that, because until you're working on you and being healthy for you, we're all going to put our boundaries first and foremost every dang time. I've seen so many girls grow in so many ways with their boundaries. But like I said at the beginning, what we're all seeing right now is the spiral effect from that, because so many people have managed their boundaries and put them in place over the last 4 months in particular. People have been really starting to put boundaries in place. And the more Susan's recognising that, the more she's getting into a bit of a free fall spiral of now it's all about what help she's going to get and staying sober and all of this stuff. And like we said, you can't fake your way into sobriety or stable mental health. And you can't do the steps without doing the work, whether it be for mental health or sobriety. You can read the books, you can look up the steps, you can figure the websites out, but unless you're actually working it and doing the shit, it's just words, because your actions and behaviours each and every dang time will show whether you're doing the work or not.
And bottom line is you got to want it
Mm-hmm.
or it's all for nothing.
As I said, she knows, and there's a few of us that really are tough, and she knows, like, Cree doesn't take her shit either. You know what I'm saying? There's a good few of us that don't take her shit when it comes to her trying to manipulate with those kinds of things. And she, at times, really does hate us for it. But like we said to her, it's the only way we will be friends with her in any shape or form is for her to accept that, because we will not allow ourselves to be manipulated, gaslit, or used. So she either
100%.
works the help or we step back.
Mm-hmm.
And we just add our names onto that list of friendship groups that she tosses aside, because she'll always put addiction first. You know? And Susan's been told by all of us that if she does do the work, we're all there. If you're not going to do the work, we're not allowing you to drain that cup. And I hope she really does take stock of what's been said. But at the end of the day, the only person that can help Susan's Susan. But I refuse to cover for her or lie or do anything to kind of give her a place to hide, which is why I told her the other day, if you're saying you're on this injection, I'm sorry, but you're not getting a place to hide with that one, to manipulate it and lie. If you're truly on it, there won't be a need, a concern, because you'll be sober months from now. It's a monthly injection, so for 30 days at a time, you will be completely sober, because the medication won't allow you to be drunk. And we know what way it's going to go, but only Susan can prove us wrong. And I would absolutely love her to prove us wrong. Love it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I'm normally a bit of a stubborn bitch, and I don't normally like being too wrong. But you know what? On this occasion, I would absolutely fucking celebrate being wrong.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But she needs to get to a point where she's healing herself, because Susan, you're pushing away everybody, honey, from your family to your friends. The impact of your addiction and lack of support in your own mental health is fucking your whole world up, from your children's, your relationship with your children, to your family members, to your friendship groups, to everything. And if you want to be sat on your own with everything destroyed and pushed away because you're not helping yourself, that's where it's going to end up, Susan, because nobody can prevent that except for you. You're the only one that can prevent that happening. You're the only one that can create a future that has family and friends and your children in it. And be healthy within that. But until then, your family, even your kids at some point, and even us, like everybody around you will end up managing their boundaries. Because until you're ready to be healthy for you, nobody can allow you to drain on them. You have to be reaching out to the right people. And I've told you a million times over, Susan, people will respect you 10 times more if you live in honesty. Take some damn accountability for your past shit, because you cannot move on with everything swept under a rug. To move on, you need to take some damn accountability for your past bullshit. You need to take accountability for your past mistakes. You need to get to the point of owning it and being truly apologetic and living in that. And those are all steps that you're going to need to learn to work. And you're nowhere close to those things. And it's such a dang shame. Because as much as you feel as if you've got no one, and as much as you feel as if you've got family who don't give a shit about you, Susan, if people didn't give a shit about you, both family and friends, people wouldn't be wasting as much time and try to get you to see some fucking form of light. People wouldn't waste their energy to want better for you. But you're absolutely pushing everybody away. You broke
CJ,
trust with so many people.
Jenna said that she's gotta get off soon, so
Okie dokie, honey. I don't think we'll be too much longer anyway.
yeah. But no, everything you said is on point. I don't even have anything to add on to that because you said it all, girl.
Sorry, I'm on a rant.
No, you're fine.
You know what I'm
Literally,
like
like
when I go on a little rant.
you'd like say something and I'd go to like respond back to it and you'd say the same thing I was gonna say. And I'm like,
Listen, you just need to tell me to shut the fuck up.
but I love it when you go on your rants.
You just tell me to sit down and shut up.
Never.
But like I said, I'm glad everybody was able to join, and I hope Susan takes something from it, if anything. Like I said, we still care, Susan, but that's our boundaries. And for everybody else here and listening, I hope it gives a bit of understanding that we've been fighting this in a way of kicking Susan's ass for a long time. It's just not been publicly. And because of the actions of the last 3 weeks, not even so much the other night, the actions of the last 3 weeks and then the icing on the cake of the other night, we've now got to that point of saying, look, there's no place left to do this, but give you no place left to hide your addiction and be able to lie and manipulate your way around that. So we all put boundaries in place, and we will call it out every single time we see her live and drunk or privately and drunk. And if we see the lies, like any of that, we've told her straight, we'll call her out on it. And it's not calling it out, like I said, to be a bitch. It's simply we just don't want to give her a place to hide and continue to be able to lie and manipulate. You either get left at ground zero with nothing, or you work your way fucking up to something better. but we just can't. You know what I mean? So I hope Susan understands. And like I said, we still care, but she knows her boundaries. We told her yesterday, and we told her we'd be explaining publicly what our boundaries were. So it's up to Susan how she reacts to that. She either accepts it or she hates us for it. That's entirely her choice. Entirely her choice. But listen, thank you everyone for coming and being patient with us rambling, ranting Scottish women.
Stop.
Whose
Yeah.
microphone always screws up for some reason at the beginning. I feel as if I've turned into damn Lenny. Like just saying, my
You made
mic's
me
not working.
You made me snort on YouTube Live. I'm so unhappy with you right now. Oh boy.
Pooh, where's Pooh at? Pooh, go clip that snort.
Shit.
Quick, before she gets to clip it, before she gets to edit it.
I'm gonna edit that shit out. I
Go
got
clip
the
her snort.
abilities. Oh god. Oh boy.
Oh, Lordy.
Great.
Well, much love, everyone, and I appreciate you all for coming. Charlie Girl, I love you loads, my beautiful voodoo sister.
Love you, honey. You did an awesome job.
Thank you, Annie. And Jen, I love you too, my beautiful voodoo sister.
Poos, I got it.
Good night,
Pooh.
everybody.
I knew you would, Pooh. Tara, I love you, woman. And Dree, you look after yourself, and I'll speak to you in a bit. But you're awesome. Don't ever forget it.
Stop. Okay.
Right?
I love you.
But everybody, thanks for coming, and I appreciate you hearing us out.
Absolutely.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Bad things happen to good people. None of us were ever really born equal. Only one life, there ain't no sequel. Some people live, others stay fearful. This world ain't never been peaceful. You got good, always butting heads against evil. The good try to be fair, but the bad lethal. They gon' fight dirty, every single one deceitful. Stand up, I wanna see your face. Get your chin up like you belong in this place. We gon' train like you've never trained before. You're going up against something that you can't ignore. This ain't a game, this your life that we're playing with. There ain't no reset button or an off switch. You gotta face your fears, you gotta scratch the itch. You gotta break through the walls and get after it. Only time will tell who's gonna make it. I promise you, I'ma be the one who's gonna take it. I fight, I provide, leaving blood on the pavement. If you're up against me, you better be praying, cause I'll keep punching till my knuckles start breaking. I'll keep going through the blood that I'm tasting. I won't stop till they've all seen greatness. The battle for my world just started, I've been waiting. Villains and heroes, only time will tell who will win and who will fail. Villains and heroes, no there ain't no one else. Pick a side or by yourself. I got this, there ain't no going back. Leave it all on the battlefield, push the attack. You can't stop me, I'm obsessive. A lot of people think that I come off aggressive, but I'm just passionate. Why aren't you? Ain't nobody care if you got nothing to lose. You gotta put yourself on the line, make moves. Otherwise you'll be a sheep with the lions watching you. Only time will tell who's gonna make it. I promise you, I'ma be the one who's gonna take it. I fight, I provide, leaving blood on the pavement. If you're up against me, then you better be praying, cause I'll keep punching till my knuckles start breaking. I'll keep going through the blood that I'm tasting. I won't stop till they've all seen greatness. The battle for my world just started, I've been waiting. Villains and heroes, only time will tell who will win and who will fail. Villains and heroes, no there ain't no one else. Pick a side or by yourself. Today is the day, don't waste any time, no, it's time to make a change. Up in your mind, rearrange, start thinking you're the hero headed out on your way. There's gonna be good times and bad times, that's alright, just stay on the line. Cause in life we all got a different mission, but the good guy always wins, that's a given. If you stay committed, you stay driven, you'll be looking down the barrel of completing your mission. Ignition, light the flame, get the fire and you listen. Take these words deep, cause this is real, ain't no fiction. You don't need drugs, help, any prescription, just persistence and energy can win any competition. So keep fighting, facing any opposition, and be the hero in a story you yourself have written.